The morning commenced with a familiar throbbing ache and a pervasive sense of dread that had become a constant companion over the preceding years. Anna cautiously rose from slumber, endeavoring to avoid disturbing Igor. With a semblance of peace, she quietly slipped from the bed and made her way to the kitchen. After initiating the kettle's operation, she retrieved a portion of yesterday's cheese from the refrigerator. Her mind was a whirlwind, fixated on the persistent issue of financial scarcity, a recurring torment. Igor's employment was sporadic and uninspired, punctuated by a string of menial tasks. The primary financial strain rested squarely on Anna's shoulders. She toiled as an accountant for a modest enterprise, yet even her meager remuneration was scarcely adequate to cover essential expenditures such as utilities, sustenance, and the perpetual financial obligations incurred by Igor's mother, Lydia Sergeyevna. The kettle's whistle signaled the water's readiness. Anna poured the scalding liquid into a mug, added a splash of milk, and took a tentative sip. The warmth briefly cascaded through her, offering a fleeting moment of respite. As she settled at the table, Igor entered. "Good morning," Anna offered softly, her tone carefully modulated to prevent escalation. "What's so pleasant about this morning?" Igor grumbled, his gaze fixed on his phone. "That woman is calling again." Anna sighed internally. That woman was Igor's mother, a veritable storm cloud over their domestic harmony. Lydia Sergeyevna consistently intruded upon their lives, offering critiques of Anna and persistently demanding funds. "What is it this time?" Anna inquired, striving to maintain her composure. "She needs more money," Igor relayed, his voice laced with frustration. "Some loan she can't manage to repay." A surge of indignation coursed through Anna. "How much longer can this go on?" Igor countered, his temper fraying. "We just settled her outstanding balance for that new television. What am I supposed to do? She's my mother." Anna interrupted, her patience exhausted. "I understand she's your mother, but she's accustomed to living off others, and you completely fail to grasp my perspective on this." Igor's voice escalated. "I'm trying to provide for this family, and you're just trying to burden me with all your problems," Anna interjected, her voice tinged with bitterness. "I work too, Igor, and I'm utterly exhausted by these constant debts and your irresponsibility." "Oh, so that's how you choose to speak to me now," Igor spat, abruptly standing and slamming his hand on the table, his face contorted with fury. "You believe I contribute nothing? Were it not for me, you wouldn't even—" Anna cut him off, her voice hardening like steel. "You'd be sitting here, waiting for me to deign to earn even a single coin." Igor fell silent, his eyes locked onto hers, the air thick with unspoken tension. "So that's your opinion," Igor finally declared, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. "You will go to the bank this very moment and secure a loan, or else—" Anna met his gaze directly, unflinching. Igor advanced towards her, his face a mask of rage. "Or you will regret it," he hissed. Anna had no chance to respond. With a sudden, violent movement, Igor snatched the kettle from the table and flung its scalding contents at her face. An inferno of pain engulfed her. Anna cried out, instinctively covering her face with her hands and squeezing her eyes shut as the searing liquid scalded her skin. As if startled by his own actions, Igor recoiled. "What have you done?" Anna shrieked through her tears, feeling the hot water stream down her face. "I didn't mean to," Igor stammered, but his voice lacked any genuine remorse. "It's your fault. You pushed me to this." Without another word, Anna fled the kitchen, heading for the bathroom. She turned on the cold water, splashing it onto her face in an attempt to alleviate the searing pain. Staring at her distorted reflection in the mirror, Anna emerged from the bathroom, her entire body trembling, yet a newfound resolve hardening her gaze. "I'm leaving," she stated, her eyes fixed on Igor. Igor stared, taken aback. "I'm leaving you. I cannot endure this any longer." "Where do you think you're going?" Igor sneered. "Who needs you?" Anna met his gaze, her voice steady. "I'll manage. I won't be lost." She proceeded to their bedroom to gather her belongings. Though her hands trembled, she worked with determined speed. "Are you serious?" Igor appeared in the doorway, observing her. Do you believe I will permit—" Anna continued packing, her silence a formidable retort. She retrieved a small duffel bag from the closet, commencing to pack clothes, essential documents, and the emergency cash she had discreetly stashed away. "I will not surrender my life to you," Igor bellowed, realizing she was not bluffing. "I will find you." Ignoring him, Anna donned her jacket and slung the bag over her shoulder. "Goodbye, Igor," she said. As she exited the apartment, Igor attempted to intercept her, but Anna deftly broke free and fled down the stairwell. She raced down to the street, her heart pounding erratically. Anna hailed a taxi and provided her best friend Marina's address. The journey was silent, her gaze fixed on the passing scenery, her tears held at bay. The physical pain from the burns began to recede, but the emotional anguish was overwhelming. Marina opened the door with remarkable speed as if anticipating her arrival. Upon seeing Anna, she gasped and pulled her into a tight embrace. "My God, what happened?" Marina whispered, her eyes scanning Anna's face. Anna's composure shattered, and she dissolved into tears, unable to articulate a single word. Without probing further, Marina guided her inside and settled her on the sofa. She returned with a first aid kit and began to tend to the burns. Anna endured the stinging sensation stoically, tears tracing silent paths down her cheeks. "Tell me," Marina said softly once she had finished dressing the wounds. Anna, her voice faltering and hesitant, recounted the confrontation with Igor, Lydia Sergeyevna's persistent demands, the scalding water incident, and her decision to depart. Marina listened intently, her hand clasped firmly in Anna's. "You did the right thing," Marina declared when Anna concluded her narrative. "You don't have to tolerate this any longer." "But what will I do?" Anna cried. "I have nothing." "You have me," Marina stated with unwavering conviction. "And you have rights to this apartment, remember? You sold your grandmother's apartment and invested the proceeds in this one." Anna nodded in agreement. "I have the documentation to prove it." "That's excellent," Marina affirmed. "We will fight for your share. You won't be left destitute." Anna sat in the lawyer's reception area, her fingers absently toying with a crumpled folder of documents. Her heart hammered against her ribs with such force it felt as though it might escape her chest. Following a night spent at Marina's and a morning examination of her burns, which thankfully proved not to be severe, Anna felt a slight physical improvement. However, the gnawing anxiety persisted, fueled by anticipation of her meeting, a profound fear, yet also a flicker of hope that escape from this nightmarish existence was indeed possible, coupled with apprehension regarding the unknown future. Marina remained a steadfast presence, her hand a constant source of reassurance and encouragement. "Well, Anya, just tell him everything truthfully," Marina urged. "He will help." Finally, the secretary announced her name. Deep within the building, in a tastefully appointed office, Anna was called into the presence of Sergei Petrovich, a middle-aged man with an observant gaze and a welcoming smile. He motioned for her to sit and listened with unwavering attention to her account, without a single interruption. Anna detailed their financial struggles, Igor and his mother's incessant demands, the escalating arguments, and ultimately the boiling water incident, which had served as the final precipice. She spoke of her yearning for a family and love, only to be met with constant humiliation and fear. Sergei Petrovich meticulously examined the documents Anna had provided, their marriage certificate, bank statements detailing the sale of her grandmother's apartment, and receipts for the purchase of furniture and appliances for the shared dwelling with Igor. "Anna," he stated, setting the papers aside, "I can see you have substantial grounds for dividing the jointly acquired property. The funds from the sale of your apartment represent a significant advantage in your favor. Furthermore, you possess evidence of domestic abuse, which could also be a critical factor in court." A fragile sense of hope began to bloom within Anna. "So, I have a chance?" she inquired, her voice trembling, struggling to contain her emotions. "There is always a chance," Sergei Petrovich replied. "Are you prepared for anything? They may attempt to obstruct the property division, deny your financial contributions, or prolong the proceedings by exerting pressure on you. However, if you are resolute in defending your rights, I am confident we can achieve a just outcome." Sergei Petrovich outlined the subsequent steps: the necessity of gathering further evidence, identifying witnesses who could corroborate her account of financial investments, and Igor's culpability in inflicting bodily harm. "This is crucial, Anna," he emphasized. "It will demonstrate that you're not afraid and are prepared to stand your ground." Following her consultation with the lawyer, Anna felt a measure of renewed confidence and began formulating a strategy. The possibility of escaping her current predicament and embarking on a new chapter seemed more tangible. In the ensuing days, Anna and Marina dedicated themselves to compiling evidence. They canvassed neighbors, spoke with colleagues, and meticulously gathered receipts and bank statements. Each piece of information, each corroborating detail, bolstered Anna's self-assurance and brought her closer to her objective. "Why did you leave?" Igor's voice boomed through the phone. "Do you truly believe I would allow you to depart so readily?" Anna attempted to maintain a calm demeanor. "I left because I could no longer tolerate it. Igor, I am weary of your insults, your aggression, and your mother's constant interference. I want a divorce and a division of our assets." Igor erupted in laughter. "Dividing property? You won't get a thing. This apartment belongs to my mother and me. You are nothing here. You arrived with nothing, and you will leave with nothing." "That is not true," Anna retorted, striving to infuse her voice with unwavering firmness. "I have proof that the money from the sale of my apartment was invested in the purchase of this one, and I intend to fight for my rights." "You will regret this," Igor hissed. "I will ensure you are left with absolutely nothing. I will destroy you." Anna terminated the call, her entire body trembling. Fear washed over her once more. She was terrified of Igor, of his threats, and of what he might do. The following day, Anna, accompanied by Sergei Petrovich, formally filed for divorce. A protracted and arduous legal battle ensued over the division of their jointly acquired assets, but Anna was prepared for the fight. She knew she was in the right and was resolute in her stance, awaiting the first court hearing. In the evenings, Anna endeavored to resume some semblance of a normal life. Anna and Marina were diligently occupied with gathering evidence and preparing for the trial, collaborating with other legal professionals to devise a defense strategy. Periodically, Igor would contact Anna, issuing threats and hurling insults. He attempted to intimidate her, hoping to coerce her into abandoning her claims, but Anna no longer succumbed to his manipulations. She would simply end the calls and try to push him from her thoughts. One evening, as Anna was returning home from work, she noticed she was being followed. The individual remained at a distance, but her heart began to pound wildly. A suffocating fear once again enveloped her. Suddenly, he grabbed her arm and dragged her into a dimly lit alleyway. Anna cried out, but her pleas were swallowed by the silence. The assailant covered her mouth with his hand and whispered in her ear, "Give up the divorce, and we will leave you alone. Otherwise, it will be worse." Anna struggled to break free, but the stranger was stronger. He struck her across the face, and she lost consciousness. When Anna regained her senses, she was lying on the ground in the alley, her face burning with pain, her head spinning. She struggled to her feet and stumbled home. Marina was horrified to see her in such a state. She immediately contacted an ambulance and the police. At the hospital, Anna received medical attention and the assault was documented. The police launched a formal investigation. Anna nervously smoothed down her skirt. As she sat in the courthouse waiting room, the previous day's attack had left not only physical but also profound psychological scars. Soon, everyone was summoned into the courtroom. Anna took a deep breath and, feigning an air of confidence, entered the chamber. Igor and Lydia Sergeyevna were present, their gazes fixed upon her with unconcealed hatred, but Anna resolutely averted her attention. The judge commenced reading the case details. Anna presented her evidence, the documentation proving the sale of her apartment, receipts validating her financial contribution to their shared living space, Marina's testimony, and her lawyer, Sergei Petrovich, who was prepared to attest to the domestic violence. Igor attempted to refute every assertion, claiming Anna squandered his money, was prone to hysteria, and was a deliberate liar. Lydia Sergeyevna supported his accusations, interjecting comments laden with venom and disdain. However, their words lacked credibility when juxtaposed with the evidence Anna had meticulously presented. The judge listened attentively to both parties and retired to deliberate. The passage of time felt agonizingly slow. Anna could feel a bruise forming on her forehead. Finally, the judge returned and announced the verdict. The court recognized Anna's rightful claim to a share of the apartment proportionate to her financial input. Igor was ordered to compensate her for emotional distress and held accountable for the assault. A wave of profound relief washed over Anna. She had won. She had proven her case. Igor and Lydia Sergeyevna were apoplectic. They shouted and issued threats, but it was all in vain. Anna was finally free. "I told you that you had a strong case," Sergei Petrovich said, shaking her hand. "Now we need to proceed with enforcing the court's decision." Anna, brimming with determination, signed the necessary documents to list her share of the apartment for sale. She needed the funds to build a new life, settle her debts, and soon purchase a modest home. Shortly thereafter, the real estate agency received several offers. Anna, in consultation with her lawyer, selected the most advantageous buyers who were located swiftly. A young couple, eager for their own residence, made a deposit and set a date for the transaction. On the day of the closing, Anna experienced a complex mixture of emotions, joy and relief, coupled with a tinge of sadness and nostalgia. This apartment, despite the turmoil it had witnessed, had been an integral part of her life. The transaction proceeded smoothly, and Anna received the funds, signing all the requisite paperwork. The new owners, delighted, accepted the keys to their future home. A few days later, Anna learned that the new owners intended to move into the apartment imminently and had already begun minor renovations and rearranging furniture. Igor discovered the sale of Anna's share from their neighbors, and he was incandescent with rage. How could she do this? How could she sell their shared home? He immediately called Anna. "What have you done, you fool?" he roared into the phone. "How could you sell the apartment? Do you realize we now have nowhere to live?" Anna responded calmly, "Igor, I only sold my share, and I had every right to do so. I want nothing more to do with you." "Come back, Anya," Igor pleaded. "I'll fix everything. I'll be different." "It's too late, Igor," Anna stated and ended the call. She knew Igor would never change. He would always be selfish, irresponsible, and aggressive. She was no longer willing to squander her life on him. Anna took a deep breath, closing the door to her former apartment behind her. The place where she had endured years of fear and humiliation. That sound marked the definitive end of an entire era. A new life, brimming with hope and possibilities, lay before her, and she was determined to embrace it. Her first priority, after selling her share of the apartment with Igor, was to find a new home. She now possessed sufficient funds to acquire a small but comfortable apartment in a tranquil neighborhood. Her search was brief. The real estate agent quickly identified a suitable option, a one-bedroom apartment in a new building featuring large windows and a light, airy design. She was immediately drawn to the space. It felt warm, secure, and she envisioned creating a true haven there, her own sanctuary, free from intrusion. The transaction was swift and seamless. Anna proudly signed the necessary documents, feeling with each stroke of the pen that she was progressively distancing herself from her past and moving closer to her future. Soon, she held the keys to her new apartment. The relocation proved less arduous than anticipated. Marina, as always, provided invaluable support. They efficiently packed their belongings, transported them, and arranged them in their new positions. Marina possessed an uncanny ability to uplift spirits and instill confidence, her assistance proving indispensable. The new apartment was precisely as Anna had envisioned, bright, cozy, and secure. Anna reveled in arranging the furniture and decorative items, cultivating an atmosphere of warmth and comfort. Every element in the apartment was chosen with care and reflected her individual style. She intended for it to become a sanctuary where she could find solace and rejuvenation after all she had endured. At that moment, memories of her last phone conversation with Igor surfaced. He had called in a panic, begging her to return, promising to change, but Anna remained steadfast. She no longer wished for any contact with him. She had endured too much to contemplate returning to him. She deserved a better existence. She calmly informed him that it was over and ended the call. She subsequently blocked his number, endeavoring to erase him from her memory permanently. Now seated in her new apartment, she felt liberated and self-sufficient, charting her own course. They had squandered their resources, lost their apartment, their finances, and their respect. They were left isolated, bereft of support and assistance. They had reaped the consequences of their mistakes and their cruelty. Igor recognized his culpability in the unfolding events, acknowledging that he had irrevocably damaged his own life and Anna's. He lamented his actions, but it was irrevocably too late. He had lost everything. Lydia Sergeyevna also came to terms with her errors, realizing that her overbearing nature and harshness had alienated all her loved ones. She found herself utterly alone. Both had paid the price for their transgressions. They had received their just deserts, and Anna had commenced a new chapter, transforming into a strong and independent woman, no longer permitting anyone to dictate her path. She was constructing her own life and making her own decisions.